Good afternoon. My name is Teri Sirset. I'm the co-founder, president, and CEO of Dasi Simulations. Before I begin my part of the presentation, I would like you to hear what one of our patients has to say.
One day, I was walking up the driveway with a sack full of clothes, and I had to stop, and I could not walk any further. I came in and I told my husband, I said, something's wrong with me because I can't breathe. I can't breathe when I do anything hard. My doctor told me that I had aortic stenosis.
Aortic stenosis is a heart condition where the valve that sits right on top of the heart becomes stiff and tight. And so every time the heart squeezes, it has to generate extra energy to push that valve open. When we talk to patients about replacing their aortic valve, we talk about the risks of that. And we'll say, the risk of mortality is 1 in 500, the risk of a pacemaker is 1 in 10. But that's population-based data. And what that patient cares about is what the risk is to them.
So like Charlotte, my father had heart valve disease. But unlike Charlotte, my father did not make it because of complications associated with heart valve disease. So heart valve disease is very personal for me. We formed Dasi Simulations with the belief that all patients should have personalized surgical planning prior to their surgery based on their own anatomy. It should come as no surprise to you that over 11 million people in the United States have heart valve disease. 25,000 people will die this year, costing the US government over $23 billion in sales annually. The valve AI planning market opportunity is enormous. Within the next 5 years, we'll see over $4.2 billion in planning alone. With the evolution of all of the different heart valves, both TAVR and mitral in the market, it is imperative to be able to pre-plan these surgeries. While there are 4 valves in the heart, we have chosen to focus on the aortic valve because it is the most prominent and growing right now. Just this year alone, there will be over 100,000 TAVR procedures performed with a growth rate of 25% year over year. TAVR is quickly becoming the new standard of care because it's less invasive than less invasive than open heart. So how is planning so important and why AI? Why is planning so important? What you're witnessing here are animations of TAVR and mitral valve replacement. These devices are extremely difficult to use, and they have a tendency to cause mechanical force on the diseased valve. This can cause root rupture, obstruction, blood clots, and leaks. Okay, so why is that a problem? It's a problem because not even the most experienced operator is able to tell when that will happen to a patient. No amount of 3D imaging will give them the knowledge and the wherewithal to know when this will happen. So the problem is actually the current process. Right now, images are taken in 2D. The heart team will meet to discuss the upcoming patients. Oftentimes, there's a debate about which valve to choose, what size, where to put it. It's highly manual and at a great risk for error. Usually, it's done with 0 data and no analysis. This can lead to complications. So why is this problem so big and so problematic? It's problematic because it's causing real-life problems. 2020 data has shown us that the annual complications can be over 20 to 30% or upwards of 20 to 30%. 1 in every TAVR patient will receive a pacemaker. There's an opportunity for blood clots, leaks, and rupture and obstruction are deadly. So there has to be a better way. What is this better way? The better way is the Dasi Precision TAVI. What you're seeing with the pink valve, the pink aorta, is a real-life simulation of a patient that a doctor will see when they're utilizing it to make a decision on planning. So utilizing AI and machine learning, Dasi will be able to predict not only structural analysis, but flow. And this is important, especially when you're determining complications such as thrombosis. We are hoping that Dasi will be the next generation in surgical planning. Okay. Dasi is able to plan high-risk cases very confidently. Just last week, we were able to simulate a TAVR, in a TAVR, inside a TAVR, and in another TAVR. So that's actually 4 valves that we were able to simulate, which would have been virtually impossible just on 2D imaging. This is Dr. Vinod Tarani from Piedmont Heart Institute. Dr. Vinod Tarani is the head of our medical advisory board. He is a world-renowned key opinion leader, and he's performed over 4,000 surgeries. I'd like for you to hear what Dr. Tarani has to say about the Dasi Simulations technology.
We have actually now become reliant over the last 6 months on using the Dasi simulation technology. I think that's really powerful to say that we have an experienced group of physicians who did this well are finding that they can do it even better. We used to do echoes for placement and determination. We then moved to CT technology for the placement of the TAVR valve. I think the next evolution is using the Dasi simulation technology.
So led by Dr. Vinod Tarani at the Piedmont Heart Institute, Dr. Michael Mack at Baylor, and Dr. Scott Lilly at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, all pioneers and leaders in the field of heart valve therapy, Dasi Simulations is on the cutting edge of new technology. So I've told you a little bit about our amazing technology, and I'm happy to discuss it after the presentation, but let's talk a little bit about the business model. So one of the most unique things about the Dasi business model is that it's considered software as a service, so a highly lucrative SaaS model. Our approach going forward will be to target 10 early adopters for the remainder of 2021 by going after low-volume centers that have high complications, as well as high-volume centers, so we're able to establish more relationships with other key opinion leaders. We will also have a dual-prong approach to our sales strategy, where we're looking at the hospital as the payer, as well as partnering with industry valve companies such as Edwards and Abbott. Eventually, once we obtain more clinical data and publish more studies, we will go after our own CPT codes for insurance reimbursement. And our 5-year revenue model is modest at $88 to $124 million, with our margins at 85 to 90%. So we've partnered with some really, really great physicians and some great facilities. I'm happy to stand up here and tell you today that we've performed over 200 simulations with 0 complications. On a weekly basis, these hospitals, as well as other doctors that are lined up behind them, are giving us anywhere between 3 to 5 patients to simulate. So you might ask yourself, how do we differentiate ourselves from our competitors? I've already mentioned our world-renowned key opinion leaders, but we are cloud-based, AI-driven analysis. And we're able to predict blood flow and structural analysis, which is very important. Many companies out there are able to look at structure, but not many companies out there are able to look at the actual flow. We have proprietary predictive algorithms, and we have highly scalable technology. Some of the company resources that we are most proud of, besides our multiple patents that are pending, is that we've defined with Covance a 2-step regulatory process. They've defined Dasi Simulations as a non-medical device under the 21st Century Cures Act, and what that does is that allows us to enter the market today. Right behind that, we are looking at 510K analysis so that we're able to increase our performance indications for use, and those will be looking at for the end of 2022. We are friends and family pre-seed. We've raised $350,000 to date just in the last 5 months, and I'm so excited because we're involved with Rev1 Ventures and Jumpstart out of Cleveland, Ohio. We are in the due diligence process, and we started that this week with Jumpstart. Our market strategy is such that we have 2 hospital payers. We're continuing our performance studies. We will partner with industry leaders, and we will develop our new CPT codes and become the new standard of care. So our ask is $3 million in Series A. We have continued momentum. We have hospitals that are waiting to use us and great demand. The future ahead is exponential. We're starting in TAVR. We will go into the mitral market, tricuspid, and eventually Dasi Simulations will be able to simulate all structural heart. And at the core of our technology is the patient, Charlotte, patients whose lives have been helped and saved. Thank you so much.